So today we have Adrian from RIZE Health. Thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you for having me.
Would you be able to go provide us with an overview of what RIZE Health do?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're building a virtual marketplace for clinical trials. So essentially we're looking at both ends of the spectrum, and we're matching patients with the appropriate clinical trials based off their medical profile, and then allowing them the ability to participate digitally. And it's a marketplace because that data is transferred over to the researchers, so it gives them more insight, allows them to have more insight of the trial in real-time data monitoring. So what we're trying to build is include things like APIs and hardware, so we can monitor the patient remotely from any mobile device. So we're really building a patient-centric platform that really changes the way how patients interact with research organizations.
That's incredible. In terms of how you came across the idea, would you be able to go into that story? Because it was both hilarious and fascinating at the same time.
Absolutely. So the co-founder and I, Matt, we actually been lifelong friends. We went to elementary school together, high school together, university together, and we actually ended up started working at the same contract research organization. So we worked there for about almost 2 years, and I worked mainly on business development. He was on marketing, but we both have health science backgrounds, so we were familiar with the health industry. And then we quickly found out that the main problem in clinical trials is patient recruitment, patient management, and the whole patient experience involved with research. Because we worked at a boutique firm, so we saw the day-to-day operations and really interacted with the majority of the key stakeholders. So we got a lot of real-life feedback in the process. So we kind of thought of it as an archaic method. They weren't really using automation or appropriate tools for the era, we could call it. I mean, we live in a digital world, and he's still writing things on pieces of paper and uploading that.
Still being done manually, which is crazy.
It's insane. So we came up with the idea to kind of make things more automated for the patient, to give them more access, more accessibility into research, because most people probably know it's not really that big of a draw. Like, not many people know about clinical trials and all the positivity that they can bring to healthcare research and advanced medicine as well, just to people that aren't affiliated with the industry, right? So yeah, we really got involved with that, and then we came up with the idea for RIZE, and then the last few months we've kind of been iterating that and trying to build what we have now.
It's been quite a journey.
Exactly.
In terms of clinical trials, I mean, there's one side, the patient care and the onboarding process and their actual experience, which is, I believe, your source. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what you're kind of dealing with.
Right.
And on the other side is the data collection, the back-end systems side. Both are still being done manually.
Exactly,
I think there's a startup on this side that recently, I think they came from EF. I think it's called RGrid, and they're dealing with the back-end stuff. But so you're dealing on this side of the market,
right? Yeah.
Which is crazy because both sides are really done manually.
It's insane. It's insane.
Would you be able to kind of? You worked in a research organization.
Yeah.
Could you talk us through a couple of the really nuanced problems that you kind of found with patient recruitment, patient onboarding, and how messed up it was?
Yeah, like, just to give you an example, the company I worked for, we had a call center to call people to enroll into clinical trials. So, I mean, just that in itself is hilarious, right? Like, you should, in our mind, and maybe sometimes that's the issue, is that it's in our mind, is it should be something that you just fill out like on an application. Be like, okay, if I have this, and then I'm onboarded, I can schedule right from my phone, as opposed to someone calling me, hey, are you available this day? And you're like,
do you have any heart issues and stuff like that?
Exactly, yeah.
What types of illnesses were these drugs that were being tested on patients like addressing?
So the ones that I worked on, we actually worked more on a nutraceutical CRO. So we actually specialize in natural health products.
Okay.
So we were kind of like the go-to people for natural health that didn't have like toxic effects, essentially. So we actually worked on cool drugs that helped people substantially, but with completely natural ingredients. So a lot of the things we worked on were like cognition, so focus,
like choline and stuff like that.
I can't say the names of the companies, but yeah, things like that. So it was awesome. It was super cool. So we actually were a little bit more patient focused in the sense that these are healthy individuals, so they don't have to be enrolled in the trial. They're doing this for either compensation or further research or help with their not a disorder, not a disease, but some complication in their lifestyle that they don't want to take a pharmaceutical drug for. So it's actually a different approach and a different kind of people that we would work with.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. So it was really cool because these people. So for example, like a cancer clinical trial for a specific type, you want to go in one because it might be your last opportunity.
Yeah.
So the engagement might be a little bit higher for those people naturally, right? But we were actually dealing with people that supplements. So they had no tie to this trial, right?
Yeah.
It could have been like, I have stomach cramps, I went all the time, I want to get rid of it. This supplement can help that. And we really got to engage and got some good feedback from these people on how to keep them engaged and some of the tedious processes of their day-to-day.
Would you be able to go into that, like from a patient standpoint, and kind of how it links to your type of company and why you're building what you're building?
Yeah, so just the initial step is, first of all, if you don't know where to look for clinical trials, where do you go?
Okay.
Right, it's like, that's the first issue, which is a major roadblock. It's like, people don't really know about clinical trials, and if you do, where do we look for them? Go on clinicaltrials.gov, but then it's a hard process, it's not aesthetically appealing. And then how do you know if you're the right fit for that trial as well? So the next step is, yes, you think you have these symptoms, but am I actually appropriate? Will I qualify for it based on the inclusion-exclusion criteria? So that's the next step. And then if you do get in, you gotta take a day off work, schedule times that work around you, you gotta plan it ahead, and then you go into the actual clinic and do the trial. And then on most cases, once you're there, they actually give you like booklets to take home to fill out, like your daily food logs and things like that. So just like manual processes that are kind of hindering your day to day. That's where we actually kind of thought of, let's just make that whole process automated. So fill out questionnaire, match you with appropriate clinical trial for you, and then everything you do is digital. So onboarding, scheduling, electronic data capture right from a mobile device. So that process is right away automated. And then you get to the point of the actual clinical trial where you're doing insight visits. Any questionnaire that's deployed, you can fill out automatically from your phone, or they can give you an iPad and complete it as well. And then it goes to the latter part where they start monitoring and analyzing the data, which we're not there, but maybe in the future, we don't know.
Eventually, you'll probably have to leverage some sort of machine learning to match up.
If we have a bigger insight into the medical records. So right now we can match based off generic questions that we ask for inclusion-exclusion criteria. But once we start building, let me go take a step back. So we have this because we're trying to build a virtual ecosystem for trials. So make it as digital experience as possible. So that includes like wearable devices that are constantly monitoring you. And then from there, when you collect more data and you get a bigger data set, you can start making more refined decisions. So once we have a bigger medical profile with tracked data that's continuously going, you can have a more targeted approach to what trial you would enter, for example. So it's like tailoring your healthcare directly into a certain direction.
That's really interesting because you're not just relying on the patient's answering some questions. I mean, if you incorporate wearable devices, the data is the data, so it auto-populates into their...
Exactly, so it's like kind of building their medical record in a sense through the trial process. Because if you think of the shift in healthcare, it's all going towards personalized healthcare. So, and it should be a preventative approach, not kind of a band-aid approach. So once you're sick, you try and treat it. It should be beforehand. So if we can track their data beforehand and kind of follow them, we can kind of go the right direction, they might be more inclined for this, so let's try and implement something earlier. So give them this kind of supplement, for example. So it's just, that's what we're trying to get to, but in order to get to that, we need to
Was there good aftercare? Like, I mean, so prior to you building your company, but and when you're working in this company, was there good like aftercare, like, where the patients kind of followed up on like, how do you feel now without the supplement or without the drug? Yeah,
so there is that contingency period that they have to follow, so they can just do that as well from our platform. But ideally, that's what you'd want, right? Is to have like that monitoring throughout the process, and it's a little bit difficult when you have to consent to it. So some people might not want to be wearing a certain device for the rest of their lives, right? But as much data as you can get, and it's as long as it's enough that it's validated for a long enough period, you can use that, and it really be influential in making healthcare decisions. Because if you think of it as clinical trials are they are what inform most of our healthcare decisions, Many people not think of that, but it is. So based off a certain result, our drugs are going to go a certain way. So we research, we're like, oh, these people have, or these people, a certain group of people are inclined for a certain way. We should research that and maybe look into something to fix that. So it's research right off the bat, and then you kind of go with the clinical trial. So not many people actually think of it that way, that clinical trials are what inform our healthcare decisions, especially with our drug choices, our supplements and things like that. But it's just kind of a different way to look at it.
I mean, how far, would you be able to go through how far you've come from a product development standpoint, where you're currently at right now, what you've built, and what have you currently built so far and the traction you've got so far?
Absolutely. So from inception, we've built a platform that has both ends of the portal. So the participant view, so they can actually go on, match with the trial, do remote data capture, and then the researcher end where they can actually deploy these questionnaires, manage the patients, see their scheduling. So it's kind of a CRM for researchers. So we have that MVP built with those functionalities. We're planning to launch in December. Fingers crossed. And then from there, we're going to launch it to the market, get some user feedback, and then kind of do the iterations that we think will help them, work with our clients and give them the best experience possible. So like I said, it is a dual end system. So in terms of researchers, we haven't got any yet, but we also haven't launched the product. So we're hoping to get some clients signed on, because we have some good conversations so far. So hopefully those materialize. And then on the other end, we launched our participant segment of it. We have over 600 people signed up in the last 2 weeks, which is awesome. So we got some good traction there, and hopefully we're going to grow that and get some people some really good research.
I mean, have you guys partnered up with some research organizations to collect the data, or right now is it B2C type of collection? It's
B2C, yeah. Okay. So we're marketing our own database. So all these people that we have signed up to our platform, it's our efforts, so they're looking for something individual, so it's kind of a third party as opposed to owned by the CRO or university, which I think is almost better because it's decentralized. It's not the researcher's property. But yeah, we're looking to partner with rare disease organizations to give their patients a opportunity to find clinical trials in their area. So we've had some good conversations back in Canada with some rare disease, and we're looking to finalize some partnerships so they can have an onboarding tool for their patients. Yeah,
that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. And it's completely free of charge for them as well, right? So we don't monetize off the patient data or anything like that.
Yeah, because you're just ideating your product so far.
We plan on never.
Oh, really?
Monetizing off patients. Okay. So we want to give them completely free access to the platform.
Yeah.
And then it's
the data is for the research.
The researchers just pay for access to the platform.
Ah, amazing.
So like, to give you an example, if the way clinical trials work now is you have a database of people that you can dip into, but if you don't have enough people in that database for a certain indication, you have to outsource. So you have to either use your own social marketing techniques or get a third party, and we're offering that third party service in a way at a much cheaper cost than doing contract work with a recruitment firm. So it's just kind of not a one-stop or a short-term fix for a long-term problem, right? It's kind of a funnel, so we want to keep on feeding people into the funnel, and then not just putting a Band-Aid over the leaky faucet, right?
Yeah. I mean, in terms of the research organizations, the value that they get would be from, obviously, from your platform, because they're going to get candidates through the funnel instead of having to recruit, instead of having to go to a recruitment company. But at what point does specific indications of the patient really matter? So if a research organization is researching, wants a data set for pancreatic cancer,
right?
Are you guys providing specific data on all of the patients to the research organizations as well?
So with that we're sort of a medium, so we're not actually like creating the research for them.
Yeah.
So they'd have their own set protocol with inclusion and exclusion criteria. Okay. So with that, we kind of know the demographic of what kind of person they're looking for. So we can work with them to get a more targeted approach if our database is lacking in that effort. But usually when it comes to super rare diseases, there's only so many people in the world that have them, right? So it's a little bit easier to target them. It's just giving them accessibility, which is what we're trying to achieve by having more remote trials. So like patient doctor conferencing right from an app, which would remove a visit of you actually having to go somewhere physically, right? Just things like that we are trying to implement. It gets a little bit more difficult when it's a wider population almost, right? Because it's hard, you got to get more people to find. It's a bigger audience, but it's also a bigger population that you have to try and find, right?
How have you found bringing these candidates on board? Because you have to use your own marketing efforts, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what types of people, are there organizations that you're partnering up with to bring in these candidates?
Yeah, so that's part of the reason why we want to partner with rare disease organizations is so we give their patients an avenue to find research. So that's one way. And then the other way is we're trying to find, we're actually targeting a younger demographic because they are going to be the future of clinical trials. So if we can get X amount of people that are going to be involved in the healthcare system for the next 30 years, it's actually a little bit more valuable than right now. It's kind of a long-term approach. So we're really good at using social media marketing, so through like Snapchat, Instagram, and we've actually built probably 80% of our database is between 18 and 30.
Really?
Which is probably the hardest people to find.
I mean, so you guys have come quite a long way. But would you be able to talk about some of the product challenges that you've had along the journey? Kind of where you started off at, because that's a fascinating story.
So when we started the company, like I said previously, it was kind of like just an idea. Like we wanted to help this industry, we wanted to build a platform, but Matt and I actually weren't technical people. We were more on the business side. So we found this opportunity through the Canadian government called Futurepreneur, and we needed to have an incorporated business in order to apply for it. So we had an idea. We incorporated the next day because you just pay $200 on the Canadian website. So we had no founders agreement. We had no cap table. It was just, we just signed up, got an incorporation, went to Futurepreneur. We got the funding. And then we're like, okay, so we have $40,000 in our bank. What's next? And then Matt actually, he had an internship in India through his master's program, and he met some good connections there, and we reached out to our developer Shashruth. And then from there, we started building what we thought was our idea of the platform, and then we quickly found out each week things change, and there's ideas that you think work but might not work. And then we actually ended up going to Collision for part of the Alpha program, which is kind of Web Summit's Canadian arm. So we went there, and our company was called RIZE Recruitment at the time, and we were presenting on the Alpha startup track, and people would walk by like, oh, like, can you guys help us with our HR recruiting? And I go, absolutely not. Like, what do you mean? It's like, your name is called RIZE Recruitment. And I'm like, oh, okay, so name change from that day on, we're RIZE Health. So that's our first iteration. And then honestly, just building the product, it's an awesome experience because you're involved and it's engaging, but things happen quickly and things get thrown, and you kind of got to move, go with the flow, you can call it. And even with that, is like, because we're such a small team, we have to build a platform, but also try and run a business at the same time. So it's like juggling a lot of things at once. That's overwhelming at times, but it kind of keeps you motivated and keeps you on the ball. And then to further this story so far, we got into RebelBio, and like I was saying before, we thought we were rock stars. Like, like we got the best developer. He's an awesome developer, but like, we're rock stars. If we know what we're doing, like, we're a full blown business. Like, this is gonna work. And then we show up to RebelBio, and after the first 2 weeks, we're like, we got some learning to do. So we went from there, and they kind of narrowed it down for us. They're like, hey, you guys have to focus on this, do things that don't scale, get traction, get people on board. Don't worry about don't give them the end product, because what if they don't like it? Then you just spend all this money on doing something that nobody likes. Do something that is basic function, and then build from there. So that's how we kind of shifted our approach. And then recently we actually added our new CTO, whose name is Nawel. He's a great addition. He started companies before and exited previously, which is super
brilliant.
exciting. That brings a lot of valuable experience to our team and kind of validates it a little bit more, which is awesome.
So you and your co-founder deal with a product because you have intimate and nuanced understanding of the actual problem because you worked in this organization for 2 years, and then you have an exited CTO. You know, that's a great team.
And it's just the value that he brings in actually doing the damn thing.
Yeah.
Like he knows what it's like. He knows the ups and downs, and just having someone that can kind of weather the storm with us. I mean, that's invaluable, right? You can't even put a price to that.
That's great because you mentioned your first technical guy. You know, he was the CTO by default because yeah. How is it? Because I've seen some startups really go through some problems adding a CTO on top of the CTO. Would you be able to talk us through that problem?
Yeah, it was a very simple like transition.
Yeah,
because we're a small knit team, but we're really close. We're all friends, so it's just having open conversation. We're like, hey, we're talking to this person. We're looking to bring him in, but he'd be a CTO, and Shashrut, his name, was like obviously like that only makes sense. Like as long as we kind of all have the same mindset is to make this company actually work, and we got to do what's best for the company. And he was the first one to say, yeah, absolutely. Like if he can join the team at that capacity, that's awesome. It makes us way stronger, and it kind of grows our team. We have more people on deck, so it's been a great experience so far. I say that now, but it could be it's still fresh, so we'll see in a couple of months, but I'm optimistic.
That's amazing because sometimes egos do get in the way, and then you know, sometimes teams do capitulate. You know, and the first developer is so valuable as well, because he built the initial product.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, would you be able to talk about the process, RebelBio's process? Because everyone that I spoke to has said, do you know what? It's a great investment program, but they actually make us work. So would you be able to kind of highlight some of the stuff that they helped you out with?
Right, yeah. In all honesty, they just help you kind of, at least for us, they helped us become a startup, like have structure in what we do.
Interesting.
So they kind of guide you in a certain direction, be like, listen, we've done this, like these are the things that they look for. So it gives you kind of milestones to hit.
What, from like an investment perspective and then
exactly,
pitching perspective?
So obviously investment isn't the end goal. You want to build your product, you want it to be successful, but sometimes investment helps you get to that point, right?
Yeah.
So it could be an extra lifeline for companies.
Yeah.
So they do get you prepped for that in a really, really good way.
So, but like, do they help you organize your material and your pitch,
so
and so that now you're
things that you never knew you needed, like when they're like, oh, you talk to a VC, like you got to pull up your deck and talk to them. I was like, really? Because I've just been having a conversation with them, like,
oh, okay,
do you know what I mean? So it's the things like that, the little things that kind of make you more professional and seem like you're prepared, which goes a long way at the end, right? Things like that, and just like those like moments when you're pulled aside and they go, hey man, like, how's this going? And you're like, I never thought of it like that. And it's just because they're coming from a different angle and they can kind of bounce things off. Because when you're in a startup, at least for us, you're in a small group and it's like-minded people. So you're bouncing off ideas. Everyone's like, oh, you're a genius. That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. But then you tell someone else, you're like, what are you talking about? That makes no sense. Right? So it's good to have outside opinions, and then obviously
they have like a helicopter view of everyone, and because they've dealt with like hundreds of startups, so now they see the common denominator.
Exactly. So, I mean, I'm assuming most people that start startups are kind of similar. So once you've dealt with 50, you kind of understand the landscape. Yeah. It
was really interesting because when we went to the pitching showcase, let's call it the lunch showcase.
Lunchtime show. Kind of like lunchtime. What was it?
No pizzas, which I was happy about. So I realized all of the pictures that we came across, they were incredibly well crafted. Yeah. Some of you guys were nervous, including you. But like the storyline was perfectly crafted. It was short. It was 3 minutes. It was just brilliant. Did they help you organize your deck and your material?
Yeah. So Bill, who's the managing director of the RebelBio program, he works with us every Wednesday for about 3 hours, 3-hour sessions. And he's kind of crafting us for our showtime pitch, is what we call them. Yeah. So yeah, there is a like structure and a guideline that he wants us to follow. There's like little like tidbits of information that go like, don't do your solution after your problem, because then you sound like a used car salesman. So things like that. It's like, it's just the nuance of a presentation to make it flow and make it seem like a story as opposed to maybe like, hey, this idea is so amazing. Like, you kind of don't want to do that because people are like, come on, like, is it real? You know what I mean? But yeah, they're intense sessions. Those are like, probably, I'm not unconfident. Let's say like I'm pretty confident in general situations. Around Bill is when I become meek. Like, I'm like, this guy's intense. Like, he knows. You know, it's just, he's like a force of nature. Like, someone called him that. Like, he's awesome. He's been super helpful. He's taught me a lot about pitching. I mean, I came from not doing any pitches in front of people to doing a lunchtime showcase in front of 50 to 60 people, which may not seem like a lot, but from coming from zero, that's
I mean, the quality of the people in the room was pretty high.
Right. So they can see some bullshit. They're like, are they though?
Exactly. In terms of your business going forward now, so you know, your developer stayed with you. You've got a new CTO that's exited a previous company. Two founders that have worked with the nuances of the product, been in a research organization for the last 2 years. You've built a product now. What is the next step?
The next steps they're exciting. We're gonna go back home to Canada, and then we're gonna continue operations, but we're looking to raise our next round, looking to raise $1 million. That's to grow our team, pay salaries to our employees, kind of operational costs, and get a place to work actually as well. So things that we need to grow in order to maximize our sales capacity for our team. But yeah, so we're going to go back home, and then we're going to look for an investment, and then we're kind of looking towards the US or back here in Europe. So maybe in January, February, we'll be back.
With an update. If you get investment in London, I'm assuming you're going to stay here.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we've identified probably the two best ecosystems for us are London and San Francisco.
Really?
Yes.
How do they differ? Just out of curiosity.
Probably the companies that they invested in the size. I mean, San Francisco is pretty wide. Like you can because
it's a private healthcare system, so they're more susceptible to your technologies, are they?
It's not that we're not necessarily looking for fit in where our product can launch. It's more of a fit for an investor. For us personally, because it's going to be a long relationship. Because we're comfortable working with outside of a country and kind of targeting the market because we're North American, like we kind of understand a little bit of what's going on. And things are getting so global now that you don't need to be headquartered in a place to actually sell somewhere. So we're not really looking at that approach. We're kind of more looking at it for a partnership with the VC. So if they like us and we like them, then that's more important to us than where we're actually located in terms of sales, because we can figure that out in the long term, right?
Yeah, I mean, in a fairy tale world, I mean, 18 months from now, assuming you get the investor on board, where do you see your product? Where do you see your product in 18 months' time?
So in terms of traction, I see it being us actually entering the market, having some real users. And hopefully launch in US and Canada, and having a significant portion of researchers and clinics and universities actually using our platform. In terms of features, I think that's when we could probably start focusing on more collection of more data to have more tailored approaches.
Interesting, okay.
So maybe start introducing partnerships with other companies that have wearable devices, for example, have their API, so their data is automatically getting uploaded onto our platform for the researchers to monitor.
So it'd be like a personally recommended clinical trial.
Exactly. Brilliant. So just kind of get the more personalized approach for that patient-centric model.
That's incredible.
Yeah. It's exciting.
A quick fire round.
Right.
Is there a favorite book that you've been gifted, or would you gift a book to a fellow startup founder? Either one of them.
So not something any particular to a startup. One of my favorite books is actually Anthony Bourdain's
Anthony Bourdain, the cook
biography. Yeah,
really,
like the coolest guy I've ever like he lived the absolute life. Like his show was awesome, and his book was awesome. I loved it. It was Kitchen Confidential. It's kind of about his experience growing up and then working in kitchens in New York. It is absolutely unbelievable. I recommend anyone reads that. It's awesome. And watch his show, obviously. It's great.
what's the most valuable advice you received from an entrepreneurial standpoint? I mean, I'm guessing it's probably going to come from RebelBio, Bill.
I mean, there's so many things. It's probably just like eat the shit sandwich and just keep going. Like that's it. You just got to keep going. Nothing comes easy, but nothing in life does, right? So it's just keep on going and don't let your morale get down, which is hard. I mean, it's not for everybody, but I kind of like being thrown in the fire a little bit and just makes you try and perform a little bit better, right?
Yeah. What would you say has been, from this journey perspective, I mean, what do you think has been your most valuable failure on this journey?
Most valuable failure. That's a tough one.
Realizing you're not a recruitment company.
Yeah. I kind of, maybe our expectations of what the company, what we thought it was going to be like, and then actually coming here and it's going to be what it's actually going to be like. Yeah. I think we knew that it was going to be a long journey and an uphill battle, but they didn't tell us it was going to be Mount Everest. You know, like that's what we realized. We were like, oh, we're going to go for an incline, but they're like, no, it's actually going to go the opposite direction. You got to walk backwards. You know? It's that, but base camp. Yeah, but it is what it is, and that's those kind of things that are so valuable here, right? They put things into perspective for you, which if you can't figure out, you never will. Yeah. So you kind of sometimes you need people to tell you, right? So. Yeah,
that's incredible. And what would you say has been your most valuable purchase under £100, not dollars, pounds?
Most valuable purchase under £100?
Yeah.
A beer, maybe.
A beer.
So you could buy a lot with £100. Stress relief, yeah. Spoken like a true Englishman, eh?
That's the best answer ever had.
I'm also not an alcoholic for those of you that listen to this.
Especially investors.
I can buy two with under £100, just so you guys know, investors.
Do you have a favorite in the UK as opposed to Canada, or do you just drink the same beer?
Yeah, here I'll drink Camden House, the lager.
Camden House?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not familiar with
You're on a lot of these. Do you like these ales?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not bad. We don't have the same beer as Canada.
Yeah. So. That's interesting. Yeah, we have a lot of ales, and there's a lot of local breweries around here.
Brewdog is pretty good as well.
You like Brewdog?
Yeah, I do. It's not bad. So I think we actually have an even bigger craft brewery scene back in Canada.
Really?
Like I only drink craft beers almost back home. Yeah.
Wow. I could recommend you a few places.
Yeah, maybe we should. Yeah.
Once you close your round.
Yeah. And then I got to buy you a beer. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And what gives you the most joy in what you're doing?
I think it's putting in the work and seeing the result. I'm the kind of person that likes to do that. Like I don't like taking the easy way in things. Obviously, because I decided to start a company, which is an absolute crazy idea. But it's just working hard and then having something result from that is the most gratifying thing you can do. It's not even the monetary or the success. It's honestly just working at something and seeing a result for me is unbelievable. Actually, it's like a drug. The adrenaline for that is awesome.
Yeah. A lot of entrepreneurs crave that, the adrenaline, right?
Yeah, it's I don't know what it was. It's just I love the high pressure situation. Yeah. Like it kind of makes you feel alive a little bit, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Well, look, I mean, this has been incredible. I'm sure you're probably going to get investment and you'll probably be in a completely different place in 6 months, 12 months, and 18 months' time. But it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being on our show.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me. And once I do raise, I'll be sure to take both you guys out for a couple
Brewdog.
Couple Brewdogs. Yeah. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Let's wrap it up.